Welcome to NTD Evening News. Our top story tonight. Over 1 million people are still without power in Florida. The financial and human toll as a result of Hurricane Milton is immense. NTD's Jack Bradley is in Sarasota, Florida. Vice President Kamala Harris released a medical report saying she is fit for office. And in battleground Arizona, the Democratic candidate said she intends to form a bipartisan advisory council if elected. More from the Harris-Waltz campaign. Former President Trump holds a roundtable with the Hispanic community in North Las Vegas. He also vowed to fight illegal immigrant crime at a rally in Colorado. What we know about his deportation plan and tax cuts. Israel ordered over 20 villages in Lebanon to evacuate, saying anyone near Hezbollah facilities would put their lives at risk. Plus, Washington's new sanctions targeting Iran. The countdown for the highly anticipated Starship 5 launch is on. Federal regulators have finally given SpaceX the green light for its long-awaited license.
This is NTD Evening News, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced today that temporary fuel depots are opening to help residents affected by Hurricane Milton. The state launched 3 fuel distribution sites with more on the way.
Major fuel effort underway. You're going to have more of these state-run sites that are going to be available. We understand particularly to get people through the weekend, we want to be able to use the fuel reserves that we provided and get those into people's tanks.
Each resident can get 10 gallons for free. The state is also using its fuel stockpiles to refill gas stations and provide generators to those without power. That's a relief for many residents, especially those who fled hundreds of miles to escape the storm and are now making their way back home. Milton killed at least 17 people when it tore across central Florida. Over 1.3 million people are still without power. Risk of flooding remains a concern as river levels are expected to keep rising into next week. And President Biden will be visiting areas of Florida tomorrow to survey the damage. He said he hopes to connect with Governor DeSantis while he's there. Days after Hurricane Milton made landfall off of Sarasota, over 1 million residents in Florida are still without power, as mentioned. Emergency response teams are stretched thin, bringing in repair workers from all over the country. NTD's Jack Bradley has more from Sarasota.
Recovery efforts are underway here in Sarasota, Florida, where the hurricane made landfall, Hurricane Milton, as a Category 3 storm with wind gusts of up to 100 miles per hour, strong enough to send this massive sailboat up onto this sidewalk, which is now clinging on to a couple of palm trees to keep it from falling onto the street right here. Now, still, recovery efforts are underway with over 1 million people without power in Florida as we speak. And now I talked to some of the local residents here in Sarasota. Take a look.
Complete destruction. It's a war zone. It was scary. I've never had anything like that. I've been through a couple hurricanes here since I moved to Florida. Nothing like Milton.
I've lived here my whole life, and I don't think I've ever been scared of a hurricane before until this one.
Is something we've never experienced before.
Bunch of roof shingles were gone, like trees uprooted completely from the ground, like in the street, stuff everywhere, debris everywhere. Like, it looks terrible. Like, I've had such a clean neighborhood my whole life, and it just looks like disgusting after that. Like, yeah.
Milton is responsible for at least 17 deaths, with search and rescue missions still underway. It made landfall just off the coast of Sarasota at Siesta Key, flipping boats, ripping up sidewalks, uprooting and snapping trees, damaging buildings, and taking down power lines. Emergency response teams from across the country are in Florida repairing damaged infrastructure. Power blackouts are among the main concerns facing residents. That's while utility workers are trying to get the power back on.
My power went out. With the power, of course, the water went out, the hot water. I don't have hardly any internet or cell phone or telephone. Right now, I don't have hardly any communication at all until I can get my power back on and get these devices that I have charged. I'm completely out of touch with everybody.
I actually am the only one of my family, my extended family, who has power. So I actually had to host like 20 people at my house the past few days. And I think they're starting to turn back on, but I actually got really lucky and had power the whole time.
The Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport in Sarasota is closed until Wednesday. That's as crews continue cleanup efforts on a destroyed roof. But in spite of all the hardship, residents are getting through it with a positive attitude and some neighborly support.
I have a big family, so we all kind of just gather around and kind of see what we can do around, ask neighbors, do you need any help? Everyone's kind of with each other at this point. We all know, we all just went through a hurricane. It's good to, have each other's back, basically, for everyone in the community.
There's a lot worse things that are going on. But you just have to have some faith, not get worried, and just hope that tomorrow will be a better day.
Police and neighbors are, of course, helping each other in the ongoing recovery efforts, but it's definitely going to be a long and expensive road ahead. Reporting from Sarasota, Florida, Jack Bradley, NTD News.
And we're, of course, hoping for a smooth recovery for everyone affected. And I hope you continue to stay safe out there. We're switching gears now and going to the campaign trail. Vice President Kamala Harris said today that she would like to form a bipartisan advisory council if she becomes president, adding that she loves good ideas.
And so part of what I intend to do, Mayor, and put some structure around is creating a bipartisan council of advisors who can then give feedback on policy as we go forward. Because here's the thing I also understand and feel strongly about. In order for us as America to maintain our status as the strongest democracy in the world, we need a healthy two-party system. We have to have a healthy two-party system. We have to. It's in the best interest of all of us.
Her comment came at a campaign rally in Arizona. There, some polls show she's neck and neck with former President Trump, while one by the Wall Street Journal says she's up by 2 points. Trump is set to hold a rally in Arizona tomorrow. A new medical update says Vice President Kamala Harris is in excellent health and is fit to serve as president. That's according to a detailed letter from her physician that was released by the White House today. Her doctor noted that the 59-year-old wears contact lenses, takes a vitamin D3 supplement, and uses over-the-counter and prescription allergy medications. Harris also eats a healthy diet, does not use tobacco products, and occasionally drinks alcohol. The doctor wrote Harris, quote, possesses the physical and mental resiliency required to successfully execute the duties of the presidency. GOP nominee Donald Trump has not released his medical records yet, but last year he posted a letter from his doctor on social media that said his, quote, overall health is excellent. And Vice Presidential nominee Tim Waltz is back in Minnesota this weekend. Today, he marked the opening of pheasant hunting season. The Minnesota governor is hosting the annual event amid efforts to win over more male voters. Just recently, Vice President Kamala Harris revealed in an interview with 60 Minutes that she owns a Glock handgun herself. While both Harris and Waltz are gun owners, they also favor more gun safety legislation. Republicans argue that Democrats want to seize Americans' guns and overturn the Second Amendment, which gives Americans the right to bear arms. And former President Trump joined a Hispanic roundtable in Las Vegas today. The topics covered inflation and the economy. The roundtable was hosted by Building America's Future. A press release described the event as a forum to discuss how Biden-Harris policies contribute to inflation. This comes as both Trump and Vice President Harris are cranking up efforts to court Latino voters as Election Day approaches. And on Friday, former President Trump rallied in Nevada. NTD's David Lamb was in Reno.
Former President Trump spoke to supporters in Reno, Nevada. He made remarks on deporting criminal illegal immigrants as well as removing taxes for hard workers.
Very large tax cuts for workers and especially to help the hardworking people of Nevada. We will listen to this one. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime.
A director with the venue estimated about 5,000 to 10,000 attendees attended Trump's rally held at the Grand Sierra Resort.
My message to every service worker in Las Vegas and Reno is this: if you vote for me, inflation will end, your taxes will be cut massively, your wages will skyrocket, your savings and pensions will soar, and your retirement will be more prosperous.
The GOP nominee promised to slash energy prices in half if elected into office. In terms of the economy, Trump said that he plans to cut taxes for companies that do their manufacturing in the U.S., and he plans to cut energy prices for Americans in the first 12 months of taking office. Reporting in Reno, Nevada, David Lamb, NTD News.
And in Colorado, Trump expanded on his vision for mass deportation. At a large rally in Aurora yesterday, he mentioned using the 1798 Alien Enemies Act as a tool for his plan. Let's take a listen.
I'm announcing today that upon taking office, we will have an Operation Aurora at the federal level to expedite the removals of these savage gangs, and I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Think of that. 1798. This was put there. 1798. That's a long time ago, right? To target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil.
Trump referred to his initiative as Operation Aurora, named after the city where he spoke. Aurora has been roiled by the transnational Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, or TDA. The Alien Enemies Act was passed at a time when the young United States was on the brink of war with France. It allows for the detention of non-citizens under certain circumstances, especially during threats to the nation. It was invoked in major conflicts like the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II. NTD reached out to Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign for comment, but not everyone is on board with Trump's message. Ahead of Trump's visit, Aurora's mayor Mike Kaufman said reports of crime in the area were overstated. He said Aurora is a safe city, not a city overrun by Venezuelan gangs. Meanwhile, Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance held a town hall today at Redding, a regional airport in Pennsylvania. He stressed that Project 2025 isn't affiliated with the Trump campaign. Let's listen.
I don't know if you've noticed, but Donald Trump speaks for himself. Project 25 has no relation to the Trump campaign. It doesn't control what we do. No one controls what we do on the Trump campaign except for the man at the top of the ticket, and that's Donald J. Trump.
Audience members were able to directly ask questions while Vance outlined the broader goals of the campaign. We're in the final stretch of election season, and the Trump campaign is working to reach voters in key swing states. Today, Vance emphasized the importance of revitalizing American industry, creating more domestic jobs, and reducing taxes for businesses that operate in the U.S. When we come back, pollsters and analysts say that Pennsylvania will decide the winner of the 2024 presidential election more than any other state. We bring in an expert to discuss. Also, the U.S. rolling out new sanctions on Iran's oil industry after it fired missiles at Israel. Meanwhile, tensions keep escalating in the Middle East, with Israel ordering over 20 villages in southern Lebanon to evacuate.
We all know that words have power. They set things in motion
and make us happy or sad.
But there's one word that stands out because when people say it, lives are changed. It's not a big word.
It's itsy bitsy.
It's only 3 little letters. But when you say it,
The life of a kid like me can be changed.
so, what is this special word?
It may surprise you.
It's yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes to becoming a monthly supporter of Shriners Hospitals for Children. That's right. Your monthly support allows the doctors and nurses at Shriners Hospitals for Children to give the most amazing care anywhere and change the lives of kids like me. And me.
And me.
Because people like you have said yes. Now I can play football. And I can play catch.
And I can walk.
So what do you say? Will you say yes right now? It's so easy. All you have to do is pick up the phone or go to loveshriners.org right now and say yes. When you say yes to giving just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a reminder of all the kids you're helping every day. My life is filled with possibility because of the monthly support of people just like you who called the number on your screen and said yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Your yes is making a difference in my life and the lives of so many other kids like me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for giving.
Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, call again or go to loveshriners.org to say yes right away.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Welcome back. Just a few weeks left till Election Day, and both the Republican and the Democratic ticket have their eyes firmly fixed on the swing states, especially Pennsylvania. What is the importance of that swing state in particular, and what can either of the candidates do to garner the support needed? We bring in Jeff Crouere, a political analyst and host of Ringside Politics. Good evening, Jeff. Good to see you. Tell me more about the significance. What makes Pennsylvania more important than the other swing states for the 2024 election, and why is it so crucial to win that state?
Well, I'll give you 2 reasons. One, they have more electoral votes than any other swing state. And 2, it is maybe the closest of the swing states. A compilation of the polls that I've been looking at show right now Harris up by 1. So it is in effect tied. And it is, just up for grabs. So neither campaign really has an edge right now. They're both battling for it, which is why I think J.D. Vance has been crisscrossing the state today.
Right. And if I'm correct, it's 19 electoral votes that are up for grabs. So it's an electoral vote strategy. Tell me more about that. If a candidate wouldn't be able to win Pennsylvania, for instance, are there other pathways that you see to victory that are likely?
Yes, because there's 7 swing states, and you could theoretically put a combination together where you wouldn't need Pennsylvania, but it's just so much easier to win Pennsylvania and win the electoral votes. Now, the winner of the presidential election has won Pennsylvania for the past 40 years. In other words, it's been 40 years since someone won the state and lost the election. So it's a bellwether state. It really goes with the winner normally. Trump won it in 2016. He lost it in 2020. And right now it's tied. So, I mean, it's just really so important for both candidates to focus on it. It's a state right now that is really up for grabs. And I think the voters in Pennsylvania are going to be looking for the candidate that can deliver help for them. I mean, it's a state that has had hard economic times. You look at some of the major counties there, they've lost population. People are leaving. Industries are leaving. Manufacturing is leaving. So I think they're looking for a message of economic hope and who can turn things around for their state.
So I think, first of all, the historical significance there, I think that was a great addition. That definitely says a lot. But how do you read the polls right now there regarding who might be ahead in Pennsylvania?
You know, it's closed a little bit, so it's been moving in Trump's direction. Harris was up by about 3, and I'm compiling all the polls because it's hard to take one because, you know, you've got to really put them all together. When you put them all together, Harris was up by, 3 a few weeks ago. It's down to 1 right now. You know, there was a recent report about how Democrat officials are worried about the trend is sort of more in the Trump direction. We're still talking about a race that's very, very close, but it seems to be trending a little bit toward Donald Trump. And you compare it with 2016 and 2020. And in 2016 and 2020, Trump was further behind in Pennsylvania than he is right now. So he won in 2016 and he was further behind. And of course, in 2020, he lost, but it was very close. So here we have pretty much a dead heat. And the pollsters generally have been off in engaging the Trump support. In 2016 and 2020, they were off by a few points. So there's a thinking that the Trump support is a little bit higher than the polls show. Got it.
So let's take a little bit of a closer look. You just mentioned the economy as well. How important is fracking in this issue for Pennsylvania? And where do you think Harris has more work to do to convince Pennsylvanians that she is a better choice when it comes to their economy?
You know, energy is very, very important in Pennsylvania. That's an industry that creates a lot of jobs in that state. Harris was very clear in 2019 that she's opposed to fracking. She said it over and over and over again. So what she's got to do is convince the people of Pennsylvania that she's had a genuine change of heart, that she really does support it now, because it is a big issue in that state. It's an industry that creates a lot of jobs. So if you go in there and say that you're opposed to a major component of an industry that is employing a lot of people in your state and feeding families, it's going to be difficult to overcome that. So she has got to, I think, do a better job of convincing the voters that she has changed her position. And what the Trump campaign is going to do is just keep replaying all of her old statements where she said she was opposed to fracking.
Right.
I mean, that could be really the key issue in Pennsylvania. Do the voters believe that Kamala Harris has changed her mind on it? Or do they believe that she's really just pretending to get elected and then we'll go back to her previous position, which is sort of what Senator Bernie Sanders implied.
And that will be a big question. And of course, let's look at the Trump campaign here for a second before I let you go, because a poll by the Harvard Kennedy School found that young Republicans voters are actually less likely to cast their ballots than Democrats are. What else do you think they need to still hear from the Republican ticket?
Well, that's interesting because maybe it's an age thing. We've got a 78-year-old candidate that maybe some young Republicans are not really in tune to. I'm seeing a lot of enthusiasm among your typical Republican, but I think among younger voters, it tends to be a more liberal constituency, and the Democrats do better overall. So I think what the Trump campaign should do is figure out messages that will work with younger voters. No tax on tips, that he'll be helping the economy, give these first-time homeowners a chance to, enjoy the American dream. Many young voters, young Republicans are unable really to buy a house right now. So he needs to be pushing those messages to try to get young Republicans more engaged. That's a real concern if young Republicans don't come out in big numbers for President Trump. It could be the difference in a close campaign.
Right.
And there's no doubt young voters tend to, overall, lean to the left, lean more to the Democrat Party.
Right. Certainly some work carved out for himself still there. Thank you so much, Jeff Crayer, for your insights as well. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And now we're turning to the conflicts in the Middle East. President Biden said Israel should absolutely stop attacks on UN peacekeepers. His remarks came after Israeli attacks injured UN peacekeepers in Lebanon. In an X post on Friday, the Israel Defense Forces, or IDF, said it identified a threat from Hezbollah and responded. It said nearby UN peacekeepers were inadvertently hurt. The IDF said it's in constant communication with the UN interim force in Lebanon. France, Italy, and Spain issued a joint statement condemning Israel. Hezbollah fired about 100 rockets at Israel yesterday, while Israel continues its invasion into southern Lebanon. Israel ordered over 20 villages in southern Lebanon to evacuate today. An IDF spokesperson said on X, quote, "The IDF does not want to harm you." The spokesperson noted that those near Hezbollah facilities are putting their lives at risk. The IDF said that Hezbollah fired over 300 projectiles into Israel today, adding that Hezbollah was using ambulances to transport fighters and weapons. Meanwhile, a U.S. presidential envoy spoke with Lebanon's prime minister about ways to reach a ceasefire deal. And in Washington, taking aim at the industry propping up Iran's economy, the U.S. expanded sanctions against Iran's petroleum sector. It's a response to the Iranian missile attack on Israel. The goal is to deny Iran the funds to support its nuclear and missile programs. The U.S. said the sanctions would also target the Ghost Fleet that carries Iran's illicit oil to buyers around the world. Israel vows to respond to Iran's October 1st attack. Zooming out, Iran's oil exports have risen under Biden's tenure as the country successfully evades sanctions, with China becoming its major oil buyer. And a big day ahead for SpaceX. The spaceflight company just got the go-ahead for the Starship 5 launch set for tomorrow. The Federal Aviation Administration granted final approval today. The FAA earlier said it wouldn't make a decision until late November. For those unfamiliar, the Starship spacecraft and the Super Heavy rocket are fully reusable and designed to carry crew and cargo to Earth's orbit, the moon, and beyond. The agency says SpaceX met all safety and environmental requirements for this test flight. They've also approved Starship 6 for its next mission, but not without some turbulence along the way. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has been openly critical of the FAA, particularly over the delays with the approval of Starship 5. He says the craft has been launch ready since August. And thank you so much for tuning in. That concludes our evening news. I'm Evelyn Lee. Good night.